Ladies, let's talk about hair. Hey guys, you're welcome again to my channel. My name is Torera and I share DIY and lifestyle videos on this channel. So I was watching this Netflix show called Self-Made about the life and times of this woman called Sarah Breedlove, who eventually became Madam CJ Walker. And she had a line of products and she was really popular, and she was actually the very first black millionaire, if I'm right. And I was really inspired, and a lot of people were talking about her entrepreneurial spirit. People praised it, and it was all of that. People were talking about so many things, but you know what actually caught my eye? It was trying to recreate her recipe, the magical hair grower, which she stole from the lady who used to help her before. So I was just thinking, oh my God, that could be the perfect DIY. And that's why I'm here today to attempt the great Madam CJ Walker's magical hair grower. So of course, to make this kind of recipe, I had to do a ton of research. I was literally on Google for hours on end until I came upon this LA Times article that talked about, her story based on the book that her daughter or her granddaughter wrote, and which the show was inspired by. And it had a couple of interesting ingredients. I'll read them to you. The LA Times article said that the recipe included precipitated sulfur along with thick petrolatum, beeswax, copper sulfate, a perfume made from violet to hide the sulfur smell, carbolic acid, and coconut oil. Now, I googled a bunch of the things there, and some of them are not safe to use just like that. So I don't know if Madam CJ Walker had some chemistry background, which of course I know she didn't. I don't know how she put carbolic acid and it didn't burn people's hair. But when I did my research, it was like XXX run. So I took inspiration from this list of recipes and I decided to make it my own. After we make the recipe, or while we're making the recipe, we'll talk about her life, her entrepreneurial spirit, and some of the things that I feel like I didn't agree with regards to the show. So let's make the recipe. Before I make the recipe, I just wanted to check in on you guys. I hope you're okay. I hope you're hanging in there. Don't worry, this whole situation will be over soon. It will be over like this, and we'll be talking about it in past tense. Don't worry, okay? By the way, if you see steam coming up, it means that we're ready to make this hair grower. Let's see if Madam CJ Walker actually had the right idea. So obviously I'm taking inspiration from her recipe, right? And I had to do a ton of research. I had to ask people on Instagram. I had to ask people that had a chemistry background, just so that I don't end up burning my hair. So Madam CJ Walker used precipitated sulfur, and I got regular sulfur, the yellow stinking one. But a couple of people actually on Instagram said that I had to just use only 2%. It had to make up 2% of the recipe. Now in the link in the description box below, I'm going to show you guys the recipe that I used in grams. But obviously you guys can always convert it to tablespoons. I've obviously put the sulfur on a piece of paper because I'm not going to risk contamination with anything that I currently own. So I'm just being very careful. And obviously everything that I've listed, as well as a jar to put it in. Doesn't this look like the jar from the movie? And I even went ahead and got a download of the actual hair grower, what it looked like, and I have printed it and put it on my own jar, just so that we can get some level of authenticity here. The second thing she used was thick petrolatum. In my case, I'm using shea butter. Beeswax, I have some beeswax at home, so I'm going to put beeswax as she's recommended or according to her recipe. She used copper sulfate, and I can honestly see why she used copper sulfate. I was able to get my hands on a teeny bit of copper peptide, and I'm going to put copper peptide. Oh my God, when I was doing my research about copper peptide, I found something. Let me read it to you guys real quick. The reason copper peptides are so popular among many topical treatments is because of the multitude of benefits it provides for the skin and hair. So apparently, copper peptide can be used to treat hair loss, more specifically androgenic alopecia, more commonly known as male pattern baldness. So we are going to be trying this on my husband, who is going bald on this corner of his head. And we're going to see if Madam C is looking at me, if Madam CJ Walker had this right idea, if this hair grower really works.
So let's judge of that.
So let's get making, and let's see if Madam CJ Walker can save my husband's hair. I'm sure Madam CJ Walker will be proud of me. So let's get mixing. So I'm just going to melt off the shea butter. I'm just going to use the stick to do all the mixing. While that is melting as well, I'm going to put my shea butter. So while that's melting, let's talk about the life and times of Madam CJ Walker. Apparently, the Netflix show got her story a bit wrong. I don't know why they did that. I guess it's creative license. But, apparently, she didn't steal the formula. So many discrepancies in the story. And a lot of people have been praising her entrepreneurial strength, her entrepreneurial, wisdom and all of that. But for me, I saw so many things wrong with the story as depicted by Netflix. First of all, the fact that you want to be an entrepreneur doesn't mean that, in the beginning, I saw her husband support her, help her, so many things. But look at the way she practically ignored him. It was like he took less priority over the business. The business was her husband, basically. And personally, I believe in winning together. I don't believe in because I have a drive or I have the drive to do something and then I completely ignore, my partner or the people around me. Because at the end of the day, if a business crumbles, who do you have? It's the people around you. That's just my own personal opinion. I think that she could have involved him a lot more because he had good ideas for her. He had the right, idea for her. But anyway, that's how some people deal. That's how some people roll. And that's something I definitely saw wrong with, the story as depicted by Netflix. Guys, let me know, what are your thoughts on the show? What did you like about the show? And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's actually quite interesting. So this has melted to a certain extent. I'm just going to wait for it to melt completely. Now, I'm not going to add the sulfur because I know that when you put sulfur in anything that is liquidy, what happens is it goes straight to the bottom. So I'm going to wait for this to melt completely. Once it melts and it starts to harden a little bit, then I'll mix in the sulfur and the copper peptide and also the fragrance. I'm about to talk about fragrance. Now, Madam CJ Walker used violet, which to mask the sulfur smell. Honestly, sulfur stinks. So I can understand why she had to use a strong smelling fragrance. For me, I'm using essential oils. And the essential oils I have chosen here actually really help with hair growth and stimulating hair growth. So that's why I chose them. I chose frankincense, peppermints, and lavender. Now that my shea butter and beeswax have melted, I'm just going to add sweet almond oil. She used coconut oil, but I don't have coconut oil, so I'm just going to add sweet almond oil. And I'm going to take it off the heat because once you add something of a different temperature, it will start to solidify and harden. I'm going to leave it for a few minutes. If you want to make it quicker, put it in the fridge. Okay, now my mixture has hardened a little bit. I'm still going to be using my stick. I'm going to mix it to make it creamier. This kind of stuff makes me happy. Mix it really well to remove the lumps. And now I am going to add my sulfur powder. This stuff stinks. And you want to mix really thoroughly. So I'm going to add 1 ml of the copper peptide. This is like liquid gold. I have to use just a little. Just going to mix that in. This copper peptide has a bit of water in it. When I introduce water into anything that has oil, I always make sure I keep in the fridge or I add a preservative, but I'm not going to do anything fancy like that today. So I'm just going to mix it in and try and use it over the course of a few days because it's just a bit risky when you put water in oil mixtures because you're basically inviting bacteria. And that's the mixture right there. The next thing we're going to add is the fragrance oils. So I'm just going to make sure that I measure just 1/4 teaspoon, which is about 1 point something gram. I only need about 1 gram from my calculation. So I'm going to use a mixture of frankincense, peppermint, and lavender. So once you've mixed to the point where your hands are hurting, you want to transfer into your container of choice. So I'm just trying to make everything neat. So I'm just going to use a bag. You can use a Ziploc bag, whatever you have at home. It's just because I'm trying to make it neat. You can just use your spoon and scoop it in. So this is our magical hair grower. And I want to show you guys the consistency. So I'm going to try this on the bald patch on my husband's head for the next couple of days. And you can check me out on Instagram and I will probably give you guys updates there. So let me know what you guys think of the recipe. What do you think? Do you think I, matched Madam CJ Walker's great recipe? And let's chat about the show in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel, share this with a friend. Love you guys. Till next time. Bye.